Welcome to Ask a CEO. I'm Greg Demetrio, the founder and Chief Executive Officer of Lorraine Gregory Communications. Ask a CEO show is a show that chronicles the journey of significant CEOs, executives, and leaders and on their journey to the C-suite. Today's guest is Stuart Almer. Stuart B. Almer, I'm sorry. We like to use the B, right? He is the president and CEO of Gurwin Health Systems, which is one of the larger healthcare facilities here in Long Island in our region. So Stuart has been at Gurwin since 2015 and brought with him 30 years of experience in the acute and long-term care industry. As a matter of fact, he teaches a master's level course at Hofstra University. He's a frequent lecturer on quality leadership in healthcare. Professionally, he's a fellow in the American College of Healthcare for Executives, a licensed nursing home administrator, chair of Leading Edge New York, and serves on the Continuing Care Retirement Community. His board positions are many and varied, including the Jewish Business Network, New York Institute of Technology, Board of Health Professionals, the Hofstra School of Health Professionals Dean's Advisory Board, iPro, just to name a few. Stu's been recognized many times for business, leadership, and healthcare accomplishments. The Carl S. Young Advocacy Award for Leading Edge New York, Leading Age. I keep wanting to say Edge. It's just easier. Leading Age New York. He's this Distinguished Service Award from the Brooklyn United Methodist Church, Home and Healthcare Executive Club. Long Island Business News has bestowed multiple awards on Stu, including the Executive Circle, Power 25, Power 30 in healthcare. And there's also awards from the Moxie Mentoring Group and the Alzheimer Foundation of America. Stu, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Great to be here today.
Quite a resume. Quite a resume. I'm very proud to have you on my show. So we'd like to start the conversation. What's your journey from your younger days through your education, through how did you get involved in the healthcare industry? What was that journey like?
So I've had lifelong roots on Long Island. Fortunately, I've been able to really make a very successful career over the long haul. Early on in my growing up and my schooling, wanted to really be able to be in a position to help others. And in that ability to help others, gave serious thought to a career in social work and social services. As I developed and went through my education, saw in myself leadership abilities that I felt I can do something greater to help folks and do the greater good. And with that, I pursued my master's degree in business, in hospital management, but began my course on the acute care side. So I spent several years in the hospital sector and then came over to the long-term care side after obtaining my license. And I've had about an equal split in my career between acute care and long-term care. There isn't anything I really haven't had exposure to in this business, and I've certainly been enjoying the ride.
That makes you a very valuable asset to any organization, but Gurwin especially, because Gurwin's been growing and growing and growing. But initially, when you got there, what was your most pressing issue?
So when I arrived in 2015, I saw right away there was a need for change. The business of healthcare was changing, where everything was really being driven more on a quality basis. And quality drives finances. Good care results in good outcomes. And so we needed to regroup, reorganized, and with great success was able to do that. Becoming more efficient, we're really a successful nonprofit in a for-profit world.
We've been working with Gurwin, my company's worked with Gurwin for many, many years. Way back in the days of direct mail fundraising and so forth, I was a board member of the Association of Fundraising Professionals. I probably knew 3 of your predecessors. So we've been around the block a few times together, and I'm just so proud of what you guys have been able to do out there. So in terms of organization, culture is very important. So you have various different levels of people. You have professionals, credentialed professionals, clinicians, therapists, administrators. How do you corral the communication and the vision through all those different levels?
So it takes a great deal of energy and thought in terms of changing and further developing a culture of an organization. And I'm fortunate to be part of an organization, large, expansive, and very diverse, and becoming more diverse. And with that, it takes, as I mentioned, a lot of energy, and it's meeting with staff at all levels. For example, last week I hosted town hall meetings in all of our buildings across all shifts. It's a lot of giving of oneself, but it's important so that I can convey on behalf of the organization our message. Our mission in providing quality health care to the local community, and really explaining all of the objectives and the goals that we have so that everyone's on board. It's especially challenging during these difficult times.
I can imagine that. So you have a very vulnerable group that you tend to, the elderly, all right? And especially in COVID, the pandemic. How did that impact you, and how did that change the organization? And is it over?
So this has been a profound impact on us, COVID, for all long-term care facilities and actually all of healthcare. When this began becoming an issue, we were fortunate to get out ahead of things as best that we could. We were dealing with an unknown. I'm used to dealing with crises that occur in healthcare, but usually short-lived in nature. An external disaster situation, plane crashes, I've been through it all. But with that, usually they're short-lived. And we saw early on this was going to be sustained, and we needed to figure out an approach to get through this over the long haul. But fortunately, early on, we did a very good job of procuring sufficient PPE. We put the best protocols we could put in place without there being testing, without there being vaccine available to us. We are in the business of dealing with infections. It's part of what we do, and we know how to do it well. And considering the magnitude of this pandemic, I believe we fared as well as we could.
That was going to be my next question, if you could rate your accomplishment during that period.
Sure.
As tough as it was, how well did you think you did?
It's interesting you ask that, because when you're going through it, it's very easy to question yourself, are we making the right changes? And I would always say to the team that no matter what decision that was made on any given day, we knew there were going to be consequences to it, that you almost can't win. However, going back, and we're still in the crisis, the question you asked. However, looking back, I believe we've managed this again as well as we could. The initial rough phase of the pandemic, where we had to deal with human lives, that has obviously improved a great deal. But now the industry, not just Gurwin, the industry is left with a very serious financial challenge. And again, I mentioned we're a successful nonprofit in a for-profit world. We want to survive. We want to see the industry survive. July 1, I became chair of Leading Age New York. That's our New York Trade Association. And so I'm trying to help lead the charge.
Tell us a little bit more about that, because I found that interesting. I never heard of it before, but I do know it's a statewide organization. Maybe you could tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. So each state has its own division that supports our National Trade Association. The National Association is Leading Age National. So New York, being a significant state in size and scope, Leading Age New York is run by a chief executive, but has a rotating board chair. So I now have a 2-year opportunity to really push the agenda along, but we've never had the challenges that we have right now in this business. And it calls for tremendous advocacy, tremendous outreach. One of the things that I've done, our organization has done, and I've led that effort, is in dealing with and working with the media. We have had an onslaught, unfortunately, as an industry, of a lot of negative attention. And the staff who do the work that they do when taking care of the elderly do magical work, do great, caring, compassionate work. We never quite get the credit that we deserve.
So the hero days of the early pandemic seem to be waning, and now people are saying, well, wait a minute. Is that what you're facing?
Well, we were never really considered heroes.
Oh, yes, you were.
Well, maybe for us on the inside, we're dealing with the challenges head on. It's a rough, rough time. No one can ever appreciate what it's been like except to be on the inside. But I took on the media and was always very forthright, forthcoming, transparent, providing the information requested, to try to put a positive light on things, because we really do heroic work. We really do serve and meet community need. What we do at Gurwin is special, and it's important, not just Gurwin, but as an industry, that we get the proper recognition.
A dear friend of mine works for you, is one of your dietitians, and she has nothing but praise for the organization. She said, we work really hard to get this right because the audience the patients need us. So that kind of attitude pervades apparently through the whole organization. I know Dee Cook, your assistant, for many, many years, and she's always been that way. So I'm very proud of being associated with Gurwin. So before we have to go further, I'm getting told that we need to take a commercial break. So we're going to go to commercial right now, and then we'll be right back. And we're back with Stuart Almer from Gurwin Healthcare Systems, the president and CEO. Gurwin's gone through many, many changes in the healthcare as a facility, as a provider of services to the elderly, but it's also a business. It's been evolving, rebranding itself over and over and over through the years that I know it. Perhaps you could tell the audience what it's like to be ever changing.
I'm one of those executives who embraces change, especially during this time that we're in. If you don't make change, you will probably not achieve success. So I think the organization, everyone knows that I'm about embracing change. We've developed so many programs and services, even during the most difficult period. We opened up our independent housing program known as Fountaingate Gardens. We've opened up a dedicated memory care unit, a high-tech advanced care unit. In fact, knowing the market, it really is what's very important. If you know the healthcare landscape and where to go, that's the goal, to try to figure out where to go. We're all competing in a very strong assisted living market, so we made the business decision to expand and build studio apartments in our
I'm going to let you
facility.
go a little deeper into that towards the end of the interview, because I think it's an amazing development at Gurwin that you took it on. So we can couch that for the moment, all right? So, as a CEO, and our audience is made up of CEOs and people on their journey to the corner office, we always ask our guests for their advice to those people, professionally, personally, or both.
I've always taken great pride in being a very, very strong networker, and networking for many reasons. It's always good to have friends and colleagues along the way, along the journey to support you. But in doing so, you develop relationships, and you never know where those relationships take you. And the good example is the media and my handling that, and probably conducting over 200 interviews in the last 2.5 years, without exaggerating. Best for last. But it's important in building relationships. And everything that we do where we've had success It's putting yourself out there. I think what young folks especially have to be able to embrace is this is all consuming. And it's hard to grasp at times early on in one's career, but when you see the momentum and you see the opportunities, so much can be there for you if you put yourself out there. I'm out every day, every night of the week.
I know we've been in many meetings together, one of which I really love is the Jewish Business Network. They bring in some wonderful people, and that round table that we have before the presentation is just amazing. It's a round table of executives that come to the Jewish Business Network. There's always a presenter, but how do you want to call that little session in the beginning? What do you want to call that? Just a round table? Just a CEO round table?
Yes.
And we're talking about companies of all different stripes, all different sizes. And like Stu says, you make relationships in those environments, and it's very, very important for an executive to be out there on his journey to CEO, or even when he gets to be a CEO.
Even just speaking about the current issues is very relative because it can translate to other businesses. So I've taken some very good feedback from those meetings to what we do at Gurwin each and every day. For example, the issues of, remote working and how it's affected other businesses and how everyone's faring in terms of how they take care of their staff. All of these things have made a difference. So any network you join, it could be healthy for business, it's healthy for relationships, learning. And so going back to your original question, the importance of networking and also mentoring. One can never be too old to be mentored and to mentor others. And I take great pride. All of the years that I taught at Hofstra in mentoring and developing young people and giving back is making a difference because I feel a responsibility to help cultivate young people to come into the career and do what I do as well.
Exactly. Exactly. It's very interesting you say that. I love to mentor. It's one of my favorite things to do. We're very big on bringing interns in who want to learn about the video production side of the business, the marketing side. And they just put so much energy into the organization. But you mentioned something a moment ago about remote workers. Were you impacted by that whole transition into remote work?
So because of what we do in taking care of residents, most of our staff is really, in the building providing care, on units. So we're not
What about
really
the
set up
administrative
for
side?
So we made the decision, again, one of those decisions you have to make, that it was important to have all staff available at all times because we never knew what crisis was next throughout the pandemic. So we had the ability to basically dispatch staff where needed throughout the organization to provide the support. So for us, this worked well, and the staff understood, and we can look back on that and say it was the right decision. Tough decision, but the right decision.
So I saved the biggest for last. I drive past your new development called Fountaingate Gardens every day. It is magnificent. Tell us why and what.
So Fountaingate is the most special of endeavors for our organization because it puts the entire continuum of care together. So we provide long-term care, assisted living care, now with Fountaingate Gardens, independent housing. So individuals who come into our system really are joining a life plan community. So someone might come, live in the community, come and live on our campus, but have an opportunity to buy into the rest of the care that's available in our system. So it's an important move for someone who ultimately will need further healthcare services. It's a safety net approach to residential living, but it's high-end living. It's magnificent as you pass by it every day. Obviously, I see it every day and certainly enjoy its growth. It's comprised of 129 residential units in 2 residential buildings and a commons building, but it's safety, it's comfort, and it's the knowing that the health care is there.
When and if it's available, you just stay in the system and you're just right there and everybody knows you and so forth and so on. It's a much better scenario.
But the challenges that our business is going through right now with the entire industry, this is to help secure our future. The future in long-term care is questionable. And so this is an opportunity to secure that with our housing.
Why do you say that the future of long-term care is in jeopardy?
The population is aging, so long-term care is important, but long-term care takes on many forms, whether adult day care, home care, and facility care. But we've been watching over a period of time the industry go through change where many nursing homes are closing, many are selling from nonprofit to for-profits. The business is changing, and the finances are very tough, and honestly, particularly in this state, and therefore are depending upon housing and other healthcare business opportunities will be important to secure our future.
Interesting. You have to look over the horizon and say, what's next? It's like any other business, though. If you're not changing, you're dying. If you're not looking towards the future, you're never going to get there.
And there are opportunities that always present during situations like this. We acquired a 120-bed facility out east known as Island Nursing and Rehab Center just 1.5 years ago with great success. And we took on that challenge even as things were changing in the world with the pandemic, even with finances, because we saw an opportunity, and fortunately we had state funding for that program, but with that opportunity, it helped support our home care division. And during the most difficult time, when we were trying to bring every admission possible into the facility, we had restrictions in place. So if we didn't have a proper bed in one facility, we could redirect someone if the family agreed to our other facility.
Broader
to the
resources.
island facility.
Broader resources.
We couldn't do that before. So now we get to function as a system. And that's what's important here. We formed the Gurwin healthcare system as a parent as we expand. And it's a perfect example of how we're developing new services that fit into our mission, that meet community need, and help us to sustain a future.
Wonderful. I congratulate you because it's such a bold thing to do. I remember from way back 25 years ago, Gurwin was Gurwin. Everybody knew Gurwin. But Gurwin's a healthcare system now. The growth and the change is just awesome. And I congratulate you for that.
Thank you.
Before I let you go, and I thank you for being on the show, before I let you go, tell the audience where they can get more information, get a hold of you, or whatever you'd like to tell them about Gurwin and yourself.
We're a full continuum of services at Gurwin. All of our services are nicely displayed on our website, which can be accessed at www.gurwin.org. And we're also reachable and happy to respond to inquiries, also via the website to an email address, info@gurwin.org.
Terrific. Thank you, Stuart. Thank you, thank you, thank you. A very impressive person, very impressive growth of Gurwin. I'm proud to be peripherally involved with it, so thank you for that. So that's a wrap, everybody. Stuart B. Almer is our guest today, and we have plenty of prominent, significant, equal talented CEOs ready to be booked. So check us out, gregscorneroffice.com, Greg's Corner Office YouTube channel, and please like us and share us, and God bless you all.